Sir. Welcome everybody to the board of directors. Hell or high water. This is a new day. We have heard politicians for ages talk about, on my first day in office, I'll do this, this, and this. And they talk about balancing the budget and eradicating poverty and securing whatever border they think is true. But we know they just find their parking place in the first day and try to meet their neighbors and decide with their wife what to hang up on the wall. So it's interesting now to look in sort of a 90-day period of time since our brand new president came on board, what she can tell us about. So we'll hear from her in a minute. But first, as we always have to, let's declare our conflicts. Okay, Rolinda. Dan. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, we have all that recorded, and probably when Rebecca comes in, we'll have another one too. Okay, so we have time reserved during this slot for public comment. Is there anyone who has public comment? All right, then my brief comments are this. I think it's important when you're doing something new, not to get in love with motion in favor of action. Things that look like you're doing something but aren't really doing something. And I think it's important for us to tell our story properly, to band together in telling our story, to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it's very important to treat numbers correctly. As directors, we are charged with oversight and we need to understand what we're doing and why. I'm really happy about this year starting in this sort of brand new, fresh attitude. And part of that is introducing new board directors. So I want to welcome Carlos White, who is an attorney. One more attorney on the board. We need that, brother. And he specializes in helping startups, which I think is right down our alley. Carlos, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you. Carlos White, worked at a few law firms, was a partner of a few large law firms before I started my own business and advisory firm. So I won't be seen as so much as a lawyer, called Pre-Essentials LLC, and help startups and emerging companies grow and scale. That's my four-pay job. My pro bono job was I was appointed by Mayor Eric Johnson to be the franchise impact ambassador for the city of Dallas, considering that Dallas is a global hub for franchising. So happy to be here with this esteemed board and with so much talent, just see how I can be a resource to help advance the mission and goals of the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. We actually shared a moment at an orientation down at Redbird where we were hearing about how you can bond around people who have justice impacts in their life. And it was absolutely an eye-opener. It made me excited. I know Carlos and I thought the same thing, like we got to make sure this good news is spread. Another new board director is Phil Kinzer, who set strategy for Baylor. That's a pretty cool credential. Phil, tell us about yourself.
Really excited to be here. I'm Phil Kinzer. I've been with Baylor Scott, last three of which I've been focused on workforce. Also active with Dallas. Working with high schools and colleges and orders.
Welcome, Phil. Thanks, guys, for joining us. As we've alluded to already, and this is no slight on anyone who was leading us before, this kind of organization needs someone who's incredibly focused at leadership position, get everyone in line, and being that go-to person in the middle of all of it. And that person has turned out to be Laura Ward, our new president. So let's give her a big hand and hear from her.
Thank you. This is the earliest a microphone has been handed to me. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to go ahead and point out the elephants in the room first, this giant the giant eagle. When we went to the Texas Workforce Commission conference in December on my second day, we received 4 awards during that conference. So the first was 2025 Veteran Friendly Employer, which was Coca-Cola. 2025 Dallas County Local Employer of Excellence, Omni Dallas. 2025 Hireability Employer. It's Kearney, but I'm sure it's not that. Is it Kearney? Kearney Park Compound. I knew it. I knew we said it wrong in Springfield, Missouri. And then All-Star College of the Year, Dallas College. So a round of applause for the staff. I can take no credit for any of these awards. And then I just want to share a little bit with you about the first 90 days. It's been filled with a lot of meetings, but a lot of new collaborations and partnerships. So I'm really excited about that. I've met with almost all of the staff, and I know a fun fact about almost everyone. So if we ever do one of those, tell us something no one knows about you, I'm winning that game for sure. We've identified some capacity building opportunities internally. So over the next few months, we're going to be doing some internal team building and training. At the April board meeting, you will hear from our facilitator who's going to lead us through an exercise around the strategic plan, where we will be coming up with all of our tactics and initiatives that we will move together forward with at the board. And then we've also built out a plan to upskill our frontline managers so that they're prepared to deal with the things that come our way, both internally and externally to the board. I've also visited several of our workforce centers and identified some things that we're going to work on, including making them more visually appealing so that we have visual representations of workforce, of pathways, of opportunities, really based on the neighborhoods where they exist. So I'm really excited about that. We also are opening a new center. That's next Thursday. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, please RSVP. We'd love to have you at that ribbon cutting at the Garland Center. And we've also hired a Chief Information Security Officer. His name is Derek Williams. We'll introduce him at the April board meeting. And I think you're really gonna like him. He comes from an HBCU where he led their information security and IT work over the last several years. And then we've also been strengthening our community connections. We're part of a new Opportunity Youth Collaborative led by Educate Texas, and some other things that are happening where we're going to be able to leverage the services and the resources of the Workforce Board with existing initiatives to really increase the capacity of the workforce ecosystem around Dallas County. And then finally, in your board packets, you'll see a draft of our 2025 impact report. Rebecca's going to be talking about that a little bit later, but really look forward to your feedback on that. And I just appreciate this opportunity. I look forward to working with all of you. The first almost 90 days feel like 190 days maybe. But it's been great to see how the community is receiving us and the opportunities that are going to be coming our way this year. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. You have our full faith and confidence to lead transparently in this new direction. And thank you, Ashley, for helping us get to this point as well. Incredible work. So I think you'll be talking about the money, right? Bessie's not here.
Absolutely. Betsy is on her way.
Okay.
So she has a few things to talk about from our finance committee meeting. The minutes to that are on page 5 of your board packet, but I propose we go ahead and move on to the budget. She's heard all this and then she can catch you up with the remainder of our agenda items from that committee meeting once she gets here in just a few minutes. So it's time to look at our fiscal year 2026 operating budget. Now this begins on page 7 of your board packet. It's right after those finance committee meeting minutes. You also have a handout. It's the exact same information. We just blew it all up for you. So you can follow along in either place. Overall, our grants for 2026 provide for $205.7 million. And I'm going to refer to that number as $206 million throughout today's discussion. Of that amount, we're looking at $14 million for board level operating expenditures for your consideration and approval today. The remaining $191 million is for program costs and obligations, and amounts obligated to our various subrecipients, including Child Care Group and C2 Global Professional Services, are brought to the board throughout the year for review and approval prior to contracting. Now, on page 8 of your board packet, and this is in your board packet only, not in the handout, we've provided commentary overall for this $14 million operating budget. The key takeaway here is that the 2026 budget supports moderate growth with increased funds while maintaining administrative discipline. The increases that we'll dive into this morning are mainly driven by 3 things: personnel, compliance, and facilities costs. So I'm looking at page 9 now, or page 2 of your handout, page 9 of the board packet. And at the top of the page here, you're going to see general and administrative in a chart. You'll notice an increase in administrative salaries due to budgeting for both a president and a CFO for the full year. Additionally, as Laura mentioned, we're in the process of getting our CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, in the door in just a couple of weeks, which is a brand new position. We have some other job postings on our website as well. Some of these were already included in the 2025 budget. This 2026 budget allows for 3 overall new positions as compared to the 2025 budget. And this projection is in line with our plans approved by the board in fiscal year 2024 to increase headcount. You're also going to notice an increase in fringe benefits on the next line. Now, of course, part of that increase is due to headcount and raises throughout the year having a direct impact on retirement and other benefits. Another driving factor is employee health insurance premiums. Now, our chairman and our treasurer were both briefed on the increase in health insurance premiums prior to our renewal on January 1st, 2026. Our renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield showed a 25% year-over-year increase, and I don't want you to get hung up on that number because the quoted increase also included new staff in 2025. So after removing new 2025 hires and one 2025 retiree for an apples-to-apples comparison, the true increase driven by rate change is more like 18%. Marsh & McLennan Agency, our insurance broker, confirmed that these increases are consistent with what they have been seeing with other small business clients, and our chairman confirmed the same. The difference in cost for health insurance year over year is $143,000, which is 0.07% of our overall budget. Now, Marsh did provide a quote for an alternative plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield, along with other companies. This was all shared with the Finance Committee, and Marsh did advise us against switching to another carrier as those plans were significantly watered down compared to what our employees currently receive. Going down the line here, rent has increased due to the Ross Tower lease renewal in 2025. Monitoring is the next line that has also increased. Now, we hire an external monitor to monitor all of our subrecipients as required by TWC and our grant funding. Due to new funding, along with our new contractor, monitoring expenses have increased. You hear an update at the end of each board meeting from Rebecca Manette on our subrecipient monitoring, and she'll also talk to you a little bit more today that we received additional funds in various grants, including our RESE funding. That stands for Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment. And with that additional funding, we are required to do some additional monitoring, so the grant came with more money for that as well. You're also going to notice at the bottom of this table a large percentage difference for building maintenance at the administrative level. So that's our Ross Tower office on the 30th floor here. And as you visit our centers, you'll notice how we prioritize accommodations. Our board office does not currently have a handicap accessible door to our suite, so we're working to remedy that. The next table on the same page you're viewing is our workforce centers budget. So this is still board level expenditures that we're not contracting out to C2 Global to provide staffing at the centers, but they're programmatic in nature. And you'll see the bulk of this budget is for the rent at our centers. You're going to notice in this chart an introduction of a salary line that we did not have last year. These are still board level staff, but we found that due to the nature of their work, their salaries do not apply toward the administrative threshold, and they can be charged as a programmatic expense. So this is a reclass from salaries above in the administrative section from prior years, along with their fringe benefits. Going down the line here, rent has increased due to the opening of the new Garland and Irving centers, along with the Dallas College Irving South location this year. And like Laura said, we're very excited for you to tour these centers starting as early as next week with Garland. Now let's take a look at the furniture line. As you may recall, at the October board meeting, Connie presented on a procurement for office furniture for those new centers I just mentioned. And at the end of that conversation, the board approved for us to move forward and bring the final amounts back for ratification at today's board meeting. We did talk through all of these details with the Finance and Audit Committee meeting, but I just want to provide a quick review and an update for our new directors. From October's meeting, we reported that we released a procurement for office furnishings in September. We had a due date in October, and we received 2 responsive bids from Business Interiors and New Tangram LLC. Those were reviewed, evaluated, and scored by independent reviewers. Staff recommended and the board approved to move forward with negotiations with the highest scoring bid, which was Business Interiors. That all happened at the October board meeting, so I just want to provide you that update on those final prices for Garland, and these are on page 5 of your board packet if you want to follow along in the minutes. The total amount of furnishings charged to workforce centers at Garland is $372,000. And then we have a separate budget that's not included in today's $14 million for vocational rehabilitation. So we are co-located in our centers with vocational rehabilitation, or VR, and those are state staff. The state will provide us an additional budget for that furniture. That piece is $142,000. And you're going to learn more about VR today from Allison Burns later in our program. For Irving, the amount for furnishings charged to workforce centers is $456,000. And then the VR outside budget is $117,000. For Dallas College, the overall total is $241,000. Now, all of these amounts are split between fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026 budgets because some of the payments were due prior to year end. All right. If you'll flip to the next page, whether you're following along in your board packet or in the handout, the charts we have here are really just sharing the same information that I've already told you in a different view. So we've combined administrative and center costs and shown you all of professional services, technology, and our contingency budget. And just as a review, we hold a contingency in our administrative and our workforce budgets. And at the end of the year, we can reallocate any of those fundings and ultimately flow them through to our job seekers. So it could become part of training or other support services.
Actually, how do you set that contingency level?
We take the total amount that we could use for administration based on what the grants allow. Most of our grants allow for about a 10% administrative cap. And we say, okay, that's our total administrative budget. But then let's look at line item, what we think we would actually spend. So that's what I went over with you already. The salaries, the benefits, the rent, all of that. And then the difference between what we would be allowed to spend and what we think we will spend by line item becomes part of our contingency. And we've heard you in recent years, and we brought that contingency back down. Years ago, it's been $2 million, and you'll see here we're down to $700,000, $2 million for admin. Now we're down to $700,000. And thank you for allowing us to increase headcount. That's been very helpful. All right. I think I'm going to have you flip the page again. Unless you're in the board packet. If you're in the board packet, stay on the same page. We're looking at the chart that says method of funding. This is a listing of all of our secured grant funding for fiscal year 2026, making up that $206 million budget. And we list toward the bottom of this chart grants for which we have competed and won outside of our TWC and federal allocations. Now, in the past, we've secured from partners such as Google, the Walmart Foundation, and Jobs for the Future. And I want you to know that we are continually pursuing additional competitive funding, and then we thoughtfully integrate any new awards into our budget as opportunities arise. So we have quite a few things in the hopper right now. One of those opportunities currently under review is a very promising $1 million grant supporting a regional collaboration and a pilot initiative to prepare a future-ready workforce by embedding applied AI, automation, and digital skills into education and training pathways that lead to quality jobs and sustained economic growth. We are well advanced in the application process, and we look forward to sharing more details as everything is finalized. So I would like to end the budget with the next page, no matter where you're following along. This is displaying our 5-year budget trend, and I'll pause here for any budget-related questions. Maria, thank you, Maria. Only for the administrative portion, we're limited to 1% by grants, usually that 10%. The workforce centers, we are not limited, but we still want to make sure we can meet our performance goals and have the correct amount of impact on our community. So we're limited by what we can do. No dollar figure or percentage thresholds on that. We could hire more people programmatically. I mean, we have some room in admin as well. And so we have the 3 additional slots right now. We would be capped at the administrative level. So if people are working in our office on accounting, that would apply toward our administrative level.
Okay. Okay. And I think this is true, but if we did have a staffing need as we assess the growth and things we need to get done, that you would feel free to bring those staffing needs to us so that we can look at them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Are we up 3 full-time employees? Is that the bottom line?
We're from 2025 to 2026 in the budget. Yes, there were some that were approved in 2025 that are not yet filled.
And our awards and income grew at a higher scale than that.
Yes.
Ken's talking about. Yeah.
But remember, some of that growth is due to childcare, which is a lot of that childcare money is direct payments to our childcare providers. Yes. What do you mean when you ask if I allocate it?
Salaries or expenses, operating expenses, are they ever allocated directly to, because you support the workforce centers? Is any portion of salaries or expenditures allocated to the workforce centers?
Yes, on page 2 of the handout, the bottom chart, you'll see we've added some salaries there that were not there in prior years. Those were included in the administrative line in the past, but those staff we found, they really are out there supporting in the centers. And so they shouldn't have to apply toward the admin cap. Now, TWC won't get upset with us if we apply something to admin that really shouldn't be. It's the other way around when you could get into trouble. But we can definitely move this over and free up some of that admin spending. So great question.
Thank you. So I just want to, I only have one question to go back to the contingency
Yeah.
use. So you may not be able to answer it off the top of your head. If not, just getting like a sense, maybe via email would be helpful for me. But so contingency this past year, or we're budgeting in 26 that our contingency is going to decrease when it comes to workforce centers. It's going to increase when it comes to general admin
Yes.
or general and admin.
Yes.
What is it that we felt like we learned about either the use of contingency funds last year or what we're projecting for FY26 that would make us want to reduce in workforce centers? I understand the general and admin, but reduce in the workforce centers.
Well, the workforce centers has reduced because of the new leases, more expensive, and also the original Garland lease that we just moved out of, it was a state-owned building. And so they didn't have us pay any rent. So we're moving from $0 rent to an actual lease. So that's part of it, is just the increase in rent expenses.
So then I guess, okay, so then in general and admin, we are projecting a higher contingency there. Just remind me one more time. Why are we doing that?
That's really because of where we thought we would fall in our line item budget. Now, like Bessie said, if we come back halfway through the year and we think it would be beneficial to go ahead and staff up to complete various projects, we could pull from that contingency line. We're just not ready to go ahead and contract that amount out to C2 Global at this point, because we might have board level expenses, or the board might have a project that they want to do, such as our groundworks project, that isn't already built into the budget. So we could pull from the contingency line.
The final thing, I guess, and this is maybe where the request comes in. So we've tracked contingency use over the years. And so the strategy around contingency is, if we've got money at the end of the year, we'll essentially deploy it out based on well, I don't know what it's based on, I guess, is the question that's still sort of lingering for me. So it might be helpful just to get a sense over the past couple of years that we have tapped into contingency at the end of the year. What were those dollars going to? Just that alone, because I think like the next question I would have down the road would be, over time, longitudinally, do we feel like we're getting results based on what we keep plugging that money into? Or, and I don't mean this to sound like we're not strategic, but is some of this just sort of like, this year we're going to do this and next year we're going to do this? Or it's almost as if we would have a strategy that we would be deploying those contingency dollars to actually move the needle on things.
Certainly. Yeah, we can definitely research the trends and the effects and impacts of that and get back to you. Thank you.
Actually, most of these numbers, because of what we do, are probably pretty tight or mandated or almost. Is any of this, what part of this do you think is more discretionary or surprising?
Or surprising?
Yeah, any increases that you think, weren't anticipated, like software licenses? Why is it up so much? And is it every year, or is that a multi-year type thing?
Well, the software licenses, we have kind of changed our strategy there to get a more cost-effective plan going, where we're paying for licenses on a 3-year continuum instead of annually. So that's why you'll see that increase there.
More questions?
Now Bessie has other.
Yeah, we'll have Bessie come up and talk to us about the audit plan.
Do you have a mic for Bessie?
Morning, everybody. As the treasurer for workforce, we spent some time in our audit committee session, meeting with the auditors that will be conducting our audit for next year, or for this year, and they walked us through their plan. And so what I'd like to do is, Connie, can you just, wait a minute.
Mhm.
Yeah, Connie, can you just share some insights about Crow for us to give us a little more detail, and then we'll see if you have any questions. It's the same auditing firm that we used last year, and then the last maybe four years with their plan, with their audit plan.
Absolutely. We issued a procurement for audit services back in October, and we received 2 responsive bids, one from Crow and the other from Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. A team of evaluators scored them. Crow's had the highest score of 95.3. Carr, Riggs, and Ingram scored 80.3. So based on the recommendation of the reviewers, we went with Crow as the high scoring bid. They had the most reasonable cost of $123,000 compared to Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. They had $125,000 cost. Crow has extensive workforce experience, and they've been a great auditor for us for many years. The other thing that the evaluators noticed, it was they had an accurate representation of hours, while the other came from a different part of Texas, and they didn't include enough travel costs, and there was some missing things in their budget. That's kind of an overview of
Yeah, and so
evaluators.
does anyone have any questions or need any more insight in why we are recommending that we move forward with Crow to conduct our audit for 2026?
Ashley, do you know?
I could not hear the question.
How long have we been doing business with Crow?
It's definitely been since at least 2013.
A long time. Absolutely.
And I actually had that discussion before we asked Crow to come online to walk us through their plan. There's a balance between someone that knows you, but also someone that may know you too well. And so we are not saying that Crow is our forever auditor, but we feel comfortable based on what the bids that we got and the presentation they give us. So we will be mindful that, sometimes too long may say that they're too comfortable or we're too comfortable with them. So that was a question that we discussed.
And they also rotate their auditors on the engagement. While they might have the same partner, the people doing the day-to-day field work, they rotate. We're going to have a new auditor this year doing a lot of the field work, and the person who will be the senior managing it last year was her first year on us as a client. So now she's going to bring back that knowledge to be able to train the next person, but she's been here 1 year with us. So fresh eyes still.
Is our thought that we'll have some sort of drop dead term limit or something at some point, or do they just always have a competitive bid?
So we didn't discuss that. It's a good point. I think it's something for us to take a look at to see where we go for next year. But yeah, duly noted. Like I said, it's not our auditor. It's not the company that we're selecting forever. It is for this year. And we will make sure that we keep our eyes on how long do we want to have them. But as Ashley said, they do rotate their auditors, which gives me some comfort as well. And I felt comfortable that the rigor around their process is good.
So is there a request for the board at this point?
The request is that we accept the Crow as our auditor for 2026. I make a motion. I have one more thing to do, right?
Yeah, there's several on page 6 of your board packet.
Yeah, page 6. Hold on. Sorry, you guys, I was in traffic today. So yeah. Yes. You rescind your second? We have to approve the budget is what we have to do. Sorry, the big thing. Okay, so on page 6 of your board packet, I make a motion that we approve the 6 line items for the 2026 budget. And also, what I just said is the review of Crow. So I make a motion that we approve those items. Any questions?
For a second.
Now, Ken, thank you. Thank you.
Unrescinded. And any abstentions? Okay. The ayes?
Yeah.
Nays? The ayes have it.
All right. Thank you very much. And I love these as well.
Great.
We didn't have these in the audit thing. I'm sure I'll get them next time, right?
That's really, really good. And the historical data is really nice to see side by side as well. I think Ken's been asking for a while. Okay, next we have consent agenda, correct? So who is presenting on this?
The current consent agenda is in your board packet. I hope you had a chance to review it. These are things that that really just have high level. I'm going to provide some high level comments, and if you have any questions, please let me know. First are the minutes from the November meeting. That was the meeting where you approved me having this job. So, you know, let me know if you have any questions. Also, policies adopting state rules. These are rules adopting state policy where we have no flexibility. When we receive a new rule from the state, they let us know where we have no flexibility and some flexibility. You'll receive a briefing on where we do have some flexibility later in the meeting. And then external grants and partnerships. Most items are dollars where we are approving a partnership. So we may not be receiving money for these grants, but we are partnering with organizations around Dallas County. There is one grant to note, and that's the Texas Internships Initiative. Connie worked on this grant and is bringing in $100,000 to the board for us to work with Dallas College on IT internships for people in their bachelor's program. So thank you, Connie, for your work on that. And finally, contract amendments will be presented for approval later in the meeting.
So motion to approve consent agenda. Second. Abstentions? The ayes? Say nay. The ayes have it. So those are approved. We have wonderful committees and they're functioning very well, primarily because the leadership of said committees is taking it very seriously. And I think also they've grown into it. So first up is going to be my wonderful Vice Chair, Rebecca Acuna, talking about Achievement Alliance Committee.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We've got some really great updates. Miguel was talking about contingency funds and making different strategic decisions. And one of those decisions that this board, that the staff recommended last year that the board agreed to was to bring on groundwork. At our January meeting, we had groundwork present on some of the initial findings. We're already learning a lot. So they're doing 2 things. First is door-to-door outreach. And we'll start with the door-to-door outreach. They're knocking on doors in neighborhoods, asking people about what they would need, talking about the services. It's already gotten substantial media coverage, multiple in the Dallas Morning News, including the cover. They've been on Telemundo. And then second is a secret shopper style campaign where they are looking at 6 centers in our region and 2 in Tarrant County for comparison to measure the customer experience that is being determined as physical accessibility, building environment, customer service, programming, and service offerings. And the good news is we are already learning a lot. This is what the biggest thing so far is that the greeter and sign-in process varies substantially by center. so that the obstacles right now isn't the service itself, it's the front door. There is an inconsistency, and that's creating some roadblocks. And that is noticeable when you compare them to each other. So the best ones thus far from a customer experience perspective is Irving and Grand Prairie, whereas the Pleasant Grove one is seeing some challenges. Now, the good news is that that is easily fixable. It is through a standard uniform intake process. If you're looking at the best ones and then make that uniform, that should address a lot of the front door work. Now, the next step is in March, Groundwork is also scheduling focus groups to validate what customers are experiencing and to test the improvements. So more to come there, but we are already learning a lot from this experience. We've also been discussing strategic partnerships in this committee, and we're going to highlight some of those partnerships where an employer need led to a tailored workforce solution. So for example, Prologis, they are scaling through 2026 with the goal to train 1,500 employees and place 750 in logistics roles, supported by free access to courses and industry credentials like forklift certification. And we are also expanding apprenticeship style upskilling in data analytics and AI with Omni and Southwestern Airlines, with cohorts beginning in mid and late March. So this is a conversation. One of the conversations started with board member Carolyn Dent and the staff. Omni identified a need, and that has resulted in our building a skilled trades pipeline for roles like maintenance and HVAC, including a Forge Now visit on February 18th. And not only that, but this conversation is going to be, sorry if I butcher this, like a model. It's going to be a model for the state, thanks to the work that our board member and the staff has been doing. So two other things to point out. You can see the impact report. We need your insights. Here is what you'll know. There's been a change from last year. It's a lot less text heavy, a lot more visually appealing. The staff has been doing fantastic on highlighting impact stories, because they're the best way that people can understand what types of services are available. Other things you'll notice from the summary is that in 2025, this organization supported over 70,000 job seekers, 20,000 children, provided over 45,000 employer services, and participated in 150 community events, launched a new 3-year strategic plan focused on deeper employer engagement. So take a look, see if you've got any feedbacks. And the final thing, this is where the staff asked for our help. There is a 2026 teacher externship. You'll see these flyers. This is where industry hosts teachers for 4 hours a day for 10 days. The goal is to guide teachers in preparing students as they enter workforce. We are needing assistance in the healthcare sector, finding partners that would host teachers. So if you've got contacts, please do help us. And we do have a policy. We'll do it later. Okay. Any questions? It's been amazing, amazing work. Staff, the team, and all of the board members for their engagement. We're seeing a lot of progress.
So Rebecca, this looks final. It looks beautiful, but it's still in draft form, correct?
Yes.
What's the clearinghouse for changes and ideas? How do the board interact?
Send your thoughts to Laura.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. That was awesome. Brilliant. How about Joanne? Tell us about our governance committee.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So the governance committee, not as maybe exciting as what Rebecca and her committee is doing, but obviously very, very important. So we stay true to what we should be doing. So we met in December. A couple of things I wanted to report. One of the things in all of the charters that govern each of the committees is a process of evaluation, just how the committees are working. If there's any improvements that can be made either by the committees or in terms of the materials that they receive. So after discussion, the thought was that those self-evaluations or discussions by the committees and their members would be verbal during the committee process. And so I'll be in touch with all of the chairs just to remind that that is something that needs to be done on a regular basis. It's at least every 2 years, but I think it's just a matter of just good governance, just to get every year would be heard. The other thing just wanted to mention is our committee discussed whether we should amend our bylaws for our organization in terms of the number of directors. So some of the boards actually have a range of directors. We now currently have a requirement of 29 members for our board. And it does allow that if there's a vacancy and we don't have the 29, it could be that we're not able to take official action. So the state mandate is just 27 members. So one of the things that we're working with Reed and the staff on is whether or not that is something that we should do in terms of just, as opposed to saying 9, just a range of like 27 to 29. So there's some agreements. We have to work with Judge Jenkins on that, but we did want to just raise that here to see if there's any feedback from the board in terms of thoughts about whether we continue to pursue. I think the committee really felt that we should, if we can, make the amendment from a range to 27 to 29, but we wanted to actually raise this with board today just to see if there's any feedback one way or the other.
Do we know how we got to 29? Did we just?
My recollection, and Connie, Ashley maybe, is that there was a requirement in terms of particular representation on the board, that when we looked at that and what it meant, that we got to 29, but.
Yes, so this happened in 2024. TWC had a requirement that we add a childcare representative to the board. That's how we were blessed with Karen. And with that, TWC went from requiring a minimum of 25 directors to 27 at the same time. At that time, the board approved in our bylaws to go to 29 to meet the minimum, but there was some talk about giving equal representation to both the mayor and the judge in adding two to each slot.
Wouldn't preclude us from having just had 27 or 28. We could still take official action.
I like the idea of having a range that gives us a little bit more flexibility. So I would be for that.
We're not bringing it for approval because there are some things that the staff and Reed need to out. Back. You.
Thanks, Joanne. Joanne is the model of efficient committee leadership. Karen can be with us today. I was kind of looking forward to that because she can unlock some of the alphabet soup for our new board members, but let's go ahead. And so Demetria, you're presenting.
Yes, we miss Karen today. Karen and Kim represent us on the Child Care Advisory Council. So anyone that's interested in joining that advisory council, please contact Karen or our chair, Harry, and let them know that you're interested. We have some interesting conversations in there, great dialogue about childcare, everything childcare. And this last meeting that was held January 18th, we actually January 20th, I'm sorry, no, 18th. No, my days, I don't know, my days are all mixed up. Let me tell you, it's been a interesting ride since this year has started. But within that, the end of the year, we received notification from Texas Workforce Commission that the Office of Child Care would be conducting a monitoring review. And so TWC chose 8 workforce boards, and of course, Dallas was one of them out of 28 workforce boards that was represented in that review. And between myself and Child Care Group, we went to the state office and we met with the federal government to discuss our monitoring reviews here in Texas and how we do it. We were represented with Central Texas at the same time. This was held February 11th, just last week, a week ago. And Sherry and I was in person, and it was very interesting. We had one of the employees from the Office of Child Care was actually from the office here in Dallas. So we felt supported in the room, and we were able to utilize our staff at Child Care Group to navigate virtually through the system to show them exactly the work that is being done every day, how cases are open, how they are examined, how they are entered into the system, and how services are provided and approved. And they even look to see how we pay providers. So just so you know, we were monitored on the federal level. And if you've been paying attention to the news, because of the information that has occurred and the circumstances that have taken place in Minnesota, Governor Abbott has issued additional monitoring here in the state of Texas with investigating childcare providers. Now, we are starting that process. Child Care Group has been out working with Becky, leading this charge for the board, because the state has said the board has to lead the charge. Child Care Group has taken 12 files. Becky, is it 12? 12 cases and investigated them over the last 2 weeks by going on site, making sure children are in centers, making sure they're being cared for properly and paid. So that is happening too. So just so you know, I wish Karen was here so she could tell you all of the things as a child care provider, all of the regulations that they have, all of the stipulations that they have, and limitations on providing care is in place. And Texas is one of the states that is doing a really good job. And fraud is minimized in the state of Texas. And we know that our contractor is doing a great job on the ground here. So that was most of our meeting in our advisory council. Any questions about that?
Demetria, what's your perception of how the transition has gone to our new partner in this space? And it's, how's it gone on the team, do you think?
Oh, you're talking about C2 Global?
Yeah.
Oh, let me see. I think it's going well. We with any
What are the
change,
challenges?
there is challenges. The good thing is we have not had disruption in any services. Staff was transitioned to C2 Global from Equus. And in that transition, titles and responsibilities have changed. So I think there has been a little bit of slippage in that transition, and we may have felt the effects on the delivery of services, but I think it has been recognized with Laura. Thank you for being here. We are so happy to have Laura leading us in this agency now. She has been meeting with partners, and we have been hearing feedback, and we've been sharing that feedback with C2 Global, and things have been changing rapidly. You want to add?
I'll just add a little to what Demetria is saying. As we get out in the community, we are hearing a lot of feedback. And in fact, today, this morning, someone that I met in Washington, DC, who had some very specific concerning feedback is coming to the board office to talk more about that experience. And I think what we're seeing is C2 Global is a very willing partner who is receiving the feedback, and I think they're very willing to make adjustments. But it will take a while, but we're being very open about that feedback and requesting action, and they're receiving it well. But if anyone wants to go to a job center with me and do a little secret shopping, it's hard to be a secret shopper, if I'm being honest, but you know, I think it's good for us to see what's happening on the ground and start to make those adjustments. We're also working with South Dallas Employment Project on some very specific data-driven issues. So I think there's a lot of good things coming, but there's still definitely work to be done.
Great question. And just because you asked that question in the work, and I turned around to look at my team, and I just want to acknowledge my team this morning, because it's a lot of work that's being done behind the scenes in the community, in the school districts, with our partners, with our contractors, and with all my staff. Please stand, because I cannot do what I do without all of them. It's been amazing. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. It's a lot of work. We are trying our best to have regular meetings with our contractors that are doing the work every day. That's boots on the ground. We're trying to stay in the weeds, even though that is not our role. Our role is oversight, but we want to make sure we understand what oversight is and what is happening out there, so we can lead our contractors with exceptional customer service and great outcomes. But it takes everyone in our organization, from fiscal to planning and procurement to contracts and all of that. So I'm just standing up here grateful for the opportunity to do what I do with the team that I have and with the organization that we represent. So thank you, board members, for giving us the autonomy that you have over the last 2 years to run this agency with grace, integrity, and I'm gonna stop there. Going with that is plenty of money that we're giving out today. And a lot of questions, and as you see, all the data that reflects what we've done over the past year. The money that we are awarding today to our existing contractors, these are contractors that's boots on the ground right now that have already been procured and continue to deliver these services at the level that they've done last year, with hopefully increasing some of those services, enhancing those services, and making that experience for job seekers even better with placing them into high demand jobs. So if you turn to page 37, 36 first give you an overview of the providers. And we just wanted to make sure you knew who they were and who we're talking about here. On 37, we go into the additional dollars that we are recommending to actually fully fund the projects through the performance period. For adult education and literacy, it's due June 30th. We receive additional dollars late. As you may recall, back in September, we only had a portion of the funds given to us, and then we brought the additional dollars back. We now realize that there was some carry forward dollars that need to go out to help us extend those services. So you'll see Dallas College, Urban ISD, and Wilkinson Center, those additional amounts with the opposed amendment. Those are the additional amounts that are going to increase services in integrated education and training opportunities in construction and healthcare. So that's one. Do you have any questions on that? Chair, would you like me to keep going, or you wanted to? I think we should do individually, because I think some abstentions may occur.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Let's just take each one at a time.
So the first one is is adult education and literacy. I'll take any questions on that one. I'll need a motion.
Motion to authorize, for the board to authorize this amendment? Okay, Jesse. Second. Bill, okay. Who votes aye? Who votes nay? Any abstentions? All right, continue.
For childcare services, this is a contract amendment that is bringing funds forward from FY25. And this is only occurring because our grants overlap. And so these are funds that were approved last year that was not expended that we must bring forward to the existing contract. Those are services that were rendered October 1 through December 31st. This was local match dollars and also some of the CCF dollars. And the CCF dollars only overlap for 1 month, which was the month of October. The local match dollars went through December 31st, and they have already been expended. We just need to put them in the right contract. So that is what that amendment is for Child Care Group.
Read, is it ratification because some of it's already happened?
Yeah.
As opposed to authorization? Yeah.
Yes.
Have a motion to ratify? Second? Thank you. Anyone voting A on this? Aye. Any nays? And any abstentions?
Thank you. The next one is youth services. This is a contract amendment for the ongoing demand for young adults for training and work-based learning opportunities. Equus has come asking for additional WIOA Workforce Investment Opportunity Act youth funding to support the cost of serving more eligible participants. This request is projected to support approximately 40 to 50 additional youth, specifically with training opportunities and or work experience opportunities for WIOA youth. And that's $300,000 that they're asking for that activity. In addition, we have the Summer Earn and Learn program that is for individuals with disabilities that we help place in work experience opportunities during the summer months. And that's to help serve up to 153 participants. So that's the additional money for Equus Workforce Solutions Youth Services. Any questions on that one? No, that's totally separate. So the 40 to 50 is Workforce Investment Opportunity Youth individuals. The SEAL project is for the individuals with disabilities that we get special funding for, and that's up to 153 participants for the summer months.
More questions on that? Do I hear a motion? Second? Thanks, Gunnar. Any abstentions? And who are the ayes? Who are the nays? All right. Approved.
Okay, so workforce system operations, this is C2 Global that we were just talking about, our new contractor and getting them up to speed. When we approved the budgets in September, our budgets were determined by projected estimates from Texas Workforce Commission and pending receipt of grants. So we've received all grants, we have realized all carry forward funding, and now we're fully, we're ready to fully obligate the funds that are available that was talked about in Ashley's reports. It's a lot of money, and it is to get us to the same levels that we were this past year. So when you look at C2 Global's contract, we're adding specific funding streams for specific populations. And the $700,923 in Wagner Pizer is employment services funding, and that is to support staff that is employed by the state, and we're able to supply their materials within our workforce centers, and it helps pay for security services throughout all of our workforce centers. And that's for the whole year. So we receive that money a little later than we would normally receive it. So that's why that's 700,000. And if you look at the budget pages from Ashley's report, it's the same level of funding. We just got the money a little bit later.
This is not a surprise. It was always contemplated.
Yeah.
Questions?
And I'll keep going through the amounts because it's different funding sources. It's multiple funding sources in this one. So TANF and SNAP, those are programs that are specific to populations that are receiving some benefit from Health and Human Services, and they are referred to us. They're mandated to come to Workforce Solutions to receive job preparation services. That funding is staff intensive. A lot of it is for staff, but it allows us to work with individuals with preparing them for work, whether it's education, training, and work experience to get them placed in jobs that are self-sufficient. Specifically in TANF this past year, we served over 1,000 individuals. 65% of those participants retained employment when we placed them in some type of employment. The top two industries that were served, that we placed those individuals in, was retail and financial services. The two employers were Walgreens and State Farm. And we're happy to say that our 65% retention rate is higher than what the overall state rate was of 57%. So our staff is doing a really good job with trying to help individuals with providing them with wraparound services so they can get sustainable jobs and stay employed. That's the goal, so they can get off the assistance that they're receiving from Health and Human Services. The last one in that is RESI, which is Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment funding that Ashley mentioned. We did receive additional funding. This funding is specific to those individuals that have been unemployed and are outreach specifically for us to help them get reemployed and not exhaust their unemployment. So the state is targeting individuals that have been, that have filed unemployment and given us the funds to help those individuals find employment rapidly, and so they won't exhaust the unemployment rolls. A lot of money, a lot of activity. Any questions?
Is there a motion to authorize the amendment of C2 Global's contract as stated? Second. Who are the ayes? Who are the nays? Any abstentions? All right. Next recommendation.
Last item, very quickly, we have secured our local match, which I think last time I was in front of you, we were waiting to get from DISD. DISD has come through. And with that, we are overmatched, and we've been able to help other board areas such as East Texas with 25,000, with helping them secure their fully obligation from to draw down their federal funds from local match. And then also we've helped the big guys in Houston, Gulf Coast, with 550,000 to help them draw down their funding. So we're kind of excited to be in in a place where we can help other board areas secure their funding for childcare services. So that is all that I have. And there's one more motion, so we can put that into our contract.
Is there a motion to accept the addition of this contribution in motion? Second, thanks, Gunnar and Rebecca. Any abstentions? Do I hear ayes? Nays? All right, it's approved.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, Connie, I believe.
Good morning. Okay, if y'all will turn to page 39 of your board packet. And before I get started with procurement, I want to recognize Wesley Newt. He's our procurement manager. He keeps us all the gates closed, make sure nothing gets past procurement. All of our procurements have been pristine and we're monitored by everyone. So we've met the test. I put down the different methods of procurement just for your information, but for the most part, all procurements we bring to you guys are the competitive negotiation method. So the instance with the audit services, that was a full-blown RFP. So I've listed on page 40 any upcoming procurements for 2026, just for your information. All of these procurements are posted on our electronic bonfire system, and that's how different vendors bid on our procurements. So if you look for spring, we have 2 procurements coming up, the innovative projects for Opportunity Youth. And what this is special projects. So this is our opportunity to do something sort of different. It could be opportunities for youth for career pathway linkages to employment, internships, work experience. So it's sort of an exciting opportunity to think outside the box. The next one is childcare quality. This is typically for childcare professional training services, professional development, and other innovative activities. So that's something also that's exciting that we'll offer. Internet service provider, this is for data and voice services. Currently, we have TPX, so it's time to issue another procurement on that. Typically, those services total over $300,000. And then copier services, that will be in the fall, and this is copiers for each of our workforce centers. Typically, the budget for that is over $400,000. So all of those procurements will be posted to our electronic system, as I mentioned, and all of this is just for your information. So moving on to policy.
Tanya, I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
For Opportunity Youth, can you do a brief overview on what that means, how we classify that? Types of things that have fallen under the special projects before.
Under special projects, we did a procurement last year or not last year, 4 years ago, and that was for customized training for youth. It was, I'm trying to remember. It was IT training that was offered. So it might be able to fill in the blank a little bit more in the contract side, but it's just our opportunity to do something different, and it's 14 to 24-year-olds. So it could be in school, out of school.
So Opportunity Youth is a federal classification, and it's, like Connie said, 14 to 24-year-olds not in meaningful work, meaningful employment or education. So it's really reconnecting disconnected youth in Dallas. And Dallas has one of the largest numbers of Opportunity Youth in the state of Texas. And Texas has over 500,000 disconnected youth. So, when we talk about innovative practice, we're really talking about how are we going to go to places where youth are disconnected and help them get reconnected. And it's difficult because they've lost trust in a system that really hasn't been built for them. So that's really what we're talking about and we're building that RFP to really engage people who are doing unique things at the neighborhood level that are really re-engaging youth and helping them move forward with their lives.
So one of the things that has emerged, it feels like over the past 2 or 3 years here, have been a number of organizations that have been trying to sort of figure out the opportunity youth space. And as I continue to reflect on like the role that our organization can play in sort of helping to steer conversations, it feels like opportunity youth is like, it's right there at like one of the lowest hanging fruit because of how many entities are attempting to try to figure this out. I recognize this, as a procurement item, but even if these dollars might be able to be leveraged to try to help continue to bring entities together, to think about how we leverage this to sort of maybe even get additional bang for the buck by coordinating funds towards a more strategic and comprehensive approach.
Well, and Equus is the contractor that serves youth. And so the other piece of that, I think, is how are we leveraging what's available at career centers, at our one-stops to increase capacity at the community level. Philanthropy is very engaged. At the event yesterday at the Communities Foundation, we're part of that collaborative that's really working at the system level to try to coordinate services that are available, because you're right, there are people serving that population all over Dallas County and in Tarrant County. And so I think we're trying to get everyone moving in the same direction under the leadership of Educate Texas. So I agree 100%. And I think the staff is also moving in that direction in terms of being available and using the funds that are available through our federal contract so that we can free up other dollars around.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, moving on to policy. So the state requires us to bring a job search policy, and this is directed to UI claimants. They're required to do a weekly job search. Now, the board approved 5 back in 2024 and 2025, it was approved again. So before that, we had 3 weekly job searches. So the thought process was, when it was changed, was to increase our performance measures by asking UI claimants to apply for more jobs. The state requires us to look at the labor market conditions and kind of make a determination, is there enough jobs out there for people to bid on? So they can bid on online and in person. So it's pretty open what they can claim as job searches. And Richard, feel free to jump in for the labor market review. I mean, the labor market still is viable for people to find a job.
It is, and I think job postings and employment is slowed down a little bit for the current period. I still think 5 job searches is a good number, but it's up to the board. I don't think each one is that difficult. Like Connie was saying, it could be an online search, it could be something in Work in Texas, the state job matching system. So
the recommendation is to maintain that 5?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion or any questions before that?
it would just be applying for, let's say there is a job posting online with Amazon or another big employer in the area. They would just apply for it. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
I do recall that vigorous debate that we had back in 2024 on this topic, and I know I came out very aggressively in favor of the 5, and I concur that we need to continue that at that level.
I agree.
And that was right after the pandemic when we were having that discussion. So.
Questions? Is there a motion? Yeah.
Like, do people actually look and check? They do. When Demetria was talking about the RESEA program, one of the things staff and occasionally state auditors look at is they verify their 5 work searches. So we're pretty good at checking to make sure they are doing them, and just spot checking. For the audit, I think let's take the example of doing an online application. Usually there's some kind of proof that maybe the company says, thank you for applying or something to that effect. And they document the day, and when they did it. And usually that suffices for the state.
Thank you. I'm okay with the 5, but I've always been concerned about whether these job searches are really qualitative. Are they just check the box job searches that you could do online in 5 minutes? And wondering whether we can do anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be in this particular policy statement, but to require like attendance at a job fair, something that actually makes somebody do more work than just get on a computer and and check a few boxes and be done with all 5 searches in 10 minutes.
Thank you.
I agree. I was sitting here going, when Lisa asked the question, how do we know? And we're still doing good faith is what I think we're doing. We're like, okay, that's good enough. And so maybe it is something more tangible that we can require people to do, that we can monitor, because we don't know if the word is out, oh, just say you did it and no one's really checking. We don't know. But if there is tangible, a job fair that you must attend, that might be more beneficial than just is the 5 just a number? And are we saying, okay, we pushed it to 5 and oh, we're proud of that, but there's really no checks and balances to it?
One thing that makes it interesting is TWC is the one that requires the 5. So any change we do would have to go through TWC.
Oh.
And that's the one thing that, having been chaired during COVID, a whole lot of stuff was, up in the air, brand new. What are we going to do? Where we had 3 job searches in person, then we went to online, and then we compared ourselves with other boards across the state to come up with the 5, to at least try to get these people who really want a job to really pursue 5, and to make the ones that are just checking the box work a little harder.
Is it at least 5 or 5?
5. At least 5. I
At
think
least
they can,
5.
if they want to go out and get more, that's a blessing to them.
Yeah.
Really pursuing
And
a
then,
job.
and I guess to your point, TWC doesn't really have a way to verify their, I guess our audit process is probably the same as theirs.
And for the next meeting, we'll take a deeper dive into what that looks like and how we audit, but also what do the participants learn in their intake in terms of, you have to keep track of your job searches because you could be audited, that sort of thing. So we'll come back with a little bit more information.
Just a quick,
a lot to be able to, I'm thinking of myself unemployed. Am I going to be able to find 5 qualified jobs weekly that I'm eligible for? And when you look at the others, there's only San Antonio in this range that is requiring 5. The others are 3. Not that we, I think if you're very intentional about looking for a job, I think I'm with you. You need to fact check it. You need to probably go to a career fair. But every week 5? I mean, I don't know, is that unreasonable? I mean, if you're a truck driver, you're gonna find 5 every week, then the next week 5, then the next week 5 for a truck driver. Gonna be some of the same. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I guess I'm I just think it's a lot.
To it. I agree with you. It is because it's not the same. You want them to outreach different employers and different opportunities. And it does get a little hard to do that if you want them to be quality job searches weekly. However, the other thing is with them being on unemployment, with any individual on unemployment, and we're outreaching, they're being pulled by our RESI program, we're hoping to get them early, right? We're hoping to get individuals early to help them with that search. We're hoping to put them in work in Texas so they can have opportunities to make those connections with the resources that we have. So 5 is a lot. Remember, our unemployment rate is still low. Well, with that program, they're working with them individually. They're required to sit down and spend, I mean, the first visit, they're required to do 60 minutes with an individual. That's a long time to sit with an individual saying, I need to go find work and I can do it, either I can do it on my own or whatever, but that program is staff intensive and it's the touch. And they are very specific and intentional what you're doing with the individuals. So we hope that our services could help feed the process of getting people reemployed. But to do 5 on your own and then to be quality, I think what we're doing is saying, just go get 5 to make sure you have documentation. So if you're audited by the state for getting unemployment, you just have proof. Well, we really want them to do quality searches.
With all that being said, is the staff's recommendation still to stick with 5? Something about this issue just is a hotbed for debates. So that's recommendation.
Yes.
Any abstentions? Any motion for this to pass? Maintain it at 5? Second? All right, the ayes? Nays? Voted. All right, we are gonna stay open, not close, so Richard, Allison, Rebecca, you have 3 minutes total to apportion amongst you. Highlights only, please. Who wants the lectern? Materials, though, we'll say, so we can look at this at our leisure as well. Go ahead.
Good morning. We know you are short on time, but I wanted to thank first Rolinda for inviting us to come here and introduce ourselves. My name is Allison Burns, and I am one of the business relations coordinators for the Dallas area. I primarily serve Dallas and the surrounding areas. However, there is a lovely person who will be joining me for the Fort Worth side shortly. My job is to assist job seekers with wonderful employers like yourself and maintain employment, sustain employment. So I just wanted to remind you that if you have somebody or know somebody with a disability, we are here to serve you. And this is my wonderful coworker, Marquita.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marquita Greer. I am the Community Outreach and Awareness Specialist for Vocational Rehabilitation Services, Region 2. I like to tell people I am PR for VR. So I am out getting job seekers connected to our program. Dallas holds a special place in my heart. As a counselor, I reached across those lines to communicate, coordinate, and collaborate with the Workforce Board, with all workforce centers to make sure individuals with disabilities knew about the services that were available at the workforce. A lot of people think that Workforce Center is unemployment. I tell people we are the employment office. I was able to help get a lot of job seekers co-enrolled in a lot of the services, but I am all PR for VR. Thank you.
Thank you. Love the energy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Richard.
Okay, I'm back and I'll just go very briefly on the economic snapshot on page 42. Just a few things. Employment is starting to cool down. Job postings, year over year for January, it's a little bit of a downward trend. Also on that page, I was asked, what is the employment by industry for Dallas County? I think it might have been on trade. What is the representation of trade employment in the area? So I included that, and trade and business services are the top ones in the area. I'll answer any questions if there are any. So let me go to the performance report. We are missing 8 measures. Real quick, measurable skills gain is trending positive. So we hope that will be meeting performance soon. I've also included on page 67, 4 years of performance data. Just 2 takeaways from that, and they happen for the end of the year in 25. WI adult entered employment came in at 81.7 and dislocated worker at 81.82. I think that's great. Shows our programs are getting people to work. And I'll take any questions on the NPR or the 4 years of performance, if there's any.
Thanks, Richard.
In our region. So the question I would ask, I'd look over to Rebecca and about the impact report on page 5, where we're projecting $1.4 million increase in jobs in the region in the next 4 years. So that may be at risk as we look at the future.
And that's where we can make pivots. If different industries are growing or shrinking, we can put people to training so that they can get to work as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you, Richard. Rebecca.
Good morning. I'm Becky Bennett, the quality manager for the board. If you'll turn to pages 76 and 77, I'll give a very brief update on quality assurance and monitoring. As Ashley and Dimitri had discussed, the RECE program, we did get additional funding, and our external monitor, Christine Wynn, is ramping up more RECE reviews, as this is very much in the spotlight with TWC. One of the biggest challenges that we find is the documentation on the measurable skills gain, which Richard just said is trending up. And C2 Global has put some things in play that will help us gain better communication with the training providers, which is one of the reasons we weren't meeting the measure, is getting that certification information to be able to data enter it. On page 77 is the status of the actual monitoring reviews that are going on. The Dallas College fiscal review was final with no issues. The Dallas College program reviews final with recommendations in the area of follow-up, and especially as it relates to capturing the measurable skills gains. The AEL Wilkinson Center and Irving ISD AEL reviews are complete pending reports, as is the RECE program review for C2 Global. And the fiscal reviews for Equus/C2 Global and Child Care Group are ongoing at this time. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just read now from this wonderful new draft to close us out. We are grateful for the tireless efforts of our esteemed board of directors, exceptional board staff, trusted partners, supportive community, and remarkable customers. The year ahead holds tremendous promise, and we look forward to the continued progress we will make together. We are adjourned.
Made up. I know.